What is up, my lovely leading coefficients? Max here with another video. We're going to talk about factoring trinomials with a leading coefficient that is not 1. And when I was a wee lad back in algebra and I was learning this stuff, these problems they took a little bit out of me. I'd take a deep breath and I'd muscle through them. And when I learned them, I learned a method that was basically trial and error, and it took forever to do these problems. If I learned it, I don't remember learning it back in the day, but I'm going to teach you a really nice way of doing these problems that it's not super fast. It's not as fast as when your leading coefficient is 1, but it'll get you to the answer a little bit more quickly. Alright, so if you are interested in watching this video, I need you to first watch the video that I have linked down below that is just factoring trinomials with a leading coefficient of 1. And then I need you to watch the video, also linked in the description, on how to factor by grouping, because we're going to need both of those ideas for this video right here. Okay, so I'm going to start off this video showing you how to factor this with the method that I'm just going to use throughout this entire video. This one here, we know that the answer, whatever it looks like, it's going to be a 2x right there and an x right there. All right, because that's the only way I can multiply the f in FOIL to get a 2x squared right there. The problems, and I'm just looking at my notes here, that I do after this may not be as straightforward. But here's the problem. We're going to look at this 36 right here. Okay? Now this 36 has a whole bunch of factors. It's got 1 and 36, it's got 2 and 18, it's got 3 and 12. It's got a bunch of things here. Now back when the leading coefficient was 1, it really didn't matter what we put here once we found the magical answer. Here it actually does matter, because if I do, for example, 3 and 12, that's going to FOIL differently because of this 2 right here and this 1 right here than if I put 12 and 3. Okay? So now all of a sudden, the combination in the order, what I attach this 2x plus or minus whatever to, that actually matters. And that's what would freak me out back in the day, because I would sit here and I would do 1 and 36, I would do 36 and 1. And if those didn't work, I would do 2 and 18, I would do 18 and 2. And if those didn't work, I just kept doing trial and error, and it was very, very, very inefficient, and I did not enjoy it one bit. This process that I'm about to show you made me enjoy it a lot more. Unfortunately, I didn't learn this method until I taught algebra. And I remember sitting in my office and I was like, oh my goodness, if I had learned this back in the day, I love math and I always did, but I would have loved it so much more. So it's called the AC method. So here's what you do. You look at A, we're going to write this as ax squared plus bx plus c. And so A is the leading coefficient, C is the constant coefficient, and I'm going to multiply those two things together. I get 2 times negative 36, which is negative 72. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to play this game of trying to figure out what factors of 72, rather negative 72, will add up to a negative 1. Alright, so the coefficient b in front of my x is negative 1. So that's the goal. And here's the thing, 1 and 72, those ain't going to work. 1 plus 72 is 73, 1 minus is negative 71. That's not going to work. There's no way it's going to give me a 1. All right. Now, again, practice, practice, practice. You've got to practice this stuff. You've got to subscribe to this channel. You've got to hit the like button. You've got to do these things if you want to get good at math. All right. You might be able to see right now what's going to add and subtract to give me a negative 1 right here. You may already identify that. And if you do, you're way ahead of the game. And that's great. If you don't, that's also fine. That's why we're here. That's why we practice, practice, practice. That's why we subscribe to this channel. That's why we hit the like button. 2 and 36. That's either a 38 or a 34. Not going to do it. All right? 3 and, let's see, 3 goes into 7 twice with 1 left over. And then 3 goes into 12 4 times. That's going to give me a 21 or a 27. That ain't going to do it. I'm going to do 4. And how many times does 4 go in there? 4 goes into 7 once with 3 left over. And then 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 and 18, those aren't going to do it. That's going to give me either a 14 or a 22. Right? 5 does not go into 72. 6 does. It's 6 times 12. but that's going to add up to give me 18 or subtract to give me a 6 or a minus 6, and that ain't going to work, right? 7 does not go in there. 8 does go into 72. 8 goes into 72 9 times, and hey, look at that. 8 plus 7 is 17. That ain't going, or 8 plus 9 is 17. That's not going to work, but 8 minus 9, that is going to give me a negative 1. Okay, so here's the AC method. I know the magical combo that's going to work. And I also know the number, because, or the sign on these, because I want a negative x. So this is going to be positive 8x minus 9x, all right, minus 36. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the given trinomial like this. I've rewritten negative x to be 8x minus 9x, all right? So nothing too fancy here, but this is a winning combo because here's where factoring by grouping comes in. I'm going to group these two together. I'm going to group those two together. What do these two have in common? They have a factor of 2 and a factor of x. I'm going to pull that out. I'm left with 8 or x plus 4. What do these two have in common? They have a negative 9 in common. When I pull a negative 9 out of negative 9x, I'm left with just x. When I pull a negative 9 out of negative 36, I get positive 4. Now, if you do this AC method correctly, like we've done, you're going to get something that does factor by grouping. Remember, factoring by grouping is just a special thing that sometimes works, doesn't always work. If you do this AC method correctly, this will always work, because now we notice that we have a common factor of x plus 4. I can factor out that x plus 4. And when I pull x plus 4 out of here, I'm left with a 2x right there. And when I pull out that x plus 4, I'm left with a negative 9 right here. And this, lo and behold, is our answer. This trinomial, when you FOIL this out, are the same. Okay? X times 2x is 2x squared. Negative 9x plus 8x is negative x. Positive 4 times negative 9 is negative 36. So again, this AC method helps reduce the amount of guessing, trial, and error that we have right here. And we can see that we were right all along. 2x, we didn't know what was going to go here. X and then something right there. We found the winning combination right there. All right, let's factor 3p squared minus 10p minus 8. All right, the leading coefficient is not 1. All right, you could probably guess right now that the f in FOIL, that has to be a 3p and a p, because there's no other way to get 3p squared when we do this factorization. So that's not that big of a deal. What is a big deal is this 8, because that could be a 1 and an 8, that could be in a 2 and a 4, who knows? And where we put those relative to the 3p and the 3 matter, and so it just makes a mess out of the possibilities that we could have. And so let's try this AC method. All right, A is 3, C is negative 8. Remember, A is the leading coefficient, 8 is the constant coefficient, and I get negative 24. All right, so we're going to go through the factors of 24 that give me 10. All right, specifically negative 24, negative 10, but I just look for getting that 10, and that's going to be a good indicator that I've gotten the answer, right? So 1 and 24, that's not going to do it. Those are going to add up to 25 or subtract to 23s. All right, the next factors are 2 and 12. All right, and hey, look at that. They will subtract. 2 minus 12 will give me a negative 10. And so I can rewrite the given trinomial to be 3p squared. And we're going to rewrite this negative 10p to be plus 2p minus 12p minus 8. All right? So we don't even need to go through the whole entire list, because there's 3 and there's 8, there's 4 and there's 6. We don't even have to finish it. We found the winning combination. Because now what I'm going to do is group these two right here, and I'm going to group those two right there. Again, if you're not comfortable with factoring by grouping, go check that video out. Link in the description. That's really going to help you out here. What do these two have in common? Just a factor of p. So when I pull that p out, I get 3p plus 2. All right. What do negative 12 and negative 8 have in common? Or there's a negative 12p, but this doesn't have a p. So I'm going to pull out a negative 4, leaving me with 3p right here. And when I factor a negative 4 out of negative 8, I get positive 2. And we really know that we are on the right track because I have the same thing right there. My factoring by grouping has been successful. I can pull out 3p plus 2. and I'm left with p minus 4. And once again, you should check your answers. FOIL this out. Make sure you get the trinomial that you were given in this problem. All right, another example. Let's do 6x squared minus x minus 35. All right, we're going to factor this thing. So we're going to do the AC method again. All right, a times c is 6 times negative 35, which is 210. That's a big number. All right, so there are, first off, a lot of factors that work here. Okay, 6 is a 1 and a 6 or a 2 and a 3. We don't know which of those two it's going to be. 35 is 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. We don't know which of those it's going to be. We don't know which we're going to pair with which. We don't know what's going to be positive, what's going to be negative. There's all sorts of uncertainty. So the AC method really helps you figure out where you put things. All right? And again, factoring by grouping is the key. So let's write out the factors of 210. There's 1 and 210. We're looking for a negative 1. That's not going to work. That's either 211 or 219. We get 2 and 105. 2 times 105 is 210. Now we can see that these first whole bunch aren't going to really work out well, right? Because we're still really far from getting a 1. This is either going to be a 107 or a 103. We want a 1, rather negative 1, right? But let's just keep trucking. 3 and 70, 73 or 67, those ain't going to work, all right? 4 does not go into 210. Is 210 divided by 5 an integer? And it is. It's 42. But it's not the correct integer because that's either going to give you a 47 or a 37. So that's not good. 6 and 35. Nope. 41 or 29. But you can see that these adding and subtracting bits are getting closer and closer to negative 1. So we're on the right track. 7 does go into 210 30 times. But that's not the one. 8 does not. 9 does not. 10 does. That one's easy. 10 goes into 210 21 times. But that's either going to give me an 11 or a 31, which isn't enough, right? Not the right combination. 11 does not go into 210. 12 or 13 do not. But the last one, and I just ran out of room, but it's 14 and 15. And I am excited because 14 minus 15 does give me a negative 1. So this one was very, very unfortunate in that it was the very, very last one I could have possibly tried that gave me the answer. It would have been sweet if it were like the first one of the first few, right? But whatever. So 6x squared plus 14x. My pen is dying. That's a 14x right there. Looks kind of like a 19. Might have to find another pen. Plus 14x minus 15x minus 35. I've rewritten this trinomial up here like this. I've made this negative x a positive 14x minus 15x as per the AC method. And now I can factor this by grouping like that. All right. These have a factor of 2 in common and a factor of x in common. Let's pull a 2x out. When you pull a 2 out of a 6, you're left with 3. When you pull an x out of x squared, you're left with an x. All right? This is going to give you a 7 right here. All right? So far, so good. Now, here, we're going to group these two together. So what do negative 15x and negative 35? Well, they certainly have a negative 5 in common. So let's pull out a negative 5. All right? And when I do so, I get 3x right here. And negative 35 divided by negative 5 is a plus 7. And lo and behold, we get the same thing right there. Our factoring by grouping worked. Let's pull a 3x plus 7 out. And when I pull that out of here, I'm left with a 2x. When I pull 3x plus 7 out, I'm left with minus 5. And boom, there we go. That is the answer. We get 3x plus 7, 2x minus 5. You know what I'm going to say. FOIL this out. Make sure you get the answer. Always check your work. It's super important. All right, for my last trick, we're going to do, let's see. First off, there's a typo here. I wrote it down wrong. This should be 35t. But we're going to do 36t squared plus 35t plus 6. Let's give this one a shot. We're going to do the AC method. A times C is 36 times 6. I believe that is 216. All right? So that's our magical number. We need to look at the factors of 216 that add up to give me 35. All right? If you've been practicing this stuff, if you've gotten the hang of this, you can kind of blast through some of these and skip them. For example, 1 and 216, those aren't going to work. We're going for 35. 1 plus 216 is 217. 1 minus 216 is negative 215. Also, notice that these are both positive, so the subtraction, the negative stuff, is kind of out, right? It's kind of out of the question. Everything that we're dealing with is positive here. So I'm going to skip 1 and 216. I just told you why. 2 goes into there, right, because that's an even number. It does it 108 times, but that's way too big. 2 plus 108 is 110. That's not going to work. All right. So again, once you practice, and get the hang of this stuff, you can look at this number, you can look at what you're aiming for, and maybe get a little bit closer. Like let's do 4. All right. 4 goes into 216 54 times. All right. Now when I add these together, I get 58. All right. So that didn't work. But we didn't really have to waste time doing the 1 and the 2. Actually, 3 goes into there as well, but we're getting closer. All right. So 6 and 36. These add up to give me 42. It's not 35, but I'm getting closer. All right. 7 does not go into 216, but 8 does. It goes into 216 27 times. Oh my. 8 plus 27 is 35. So I win. This is equal to 36t squared plus 8t plus 27t plus 6. I found the winning combination. And we're going to factor by grouping. So what can I pull out of 36 and 8? I can pull out a 4. What can I pull out of t squared and t? I can pull out a factor of t, leaving me with 9t plus 2. All right? Plus, what can I pull out of 27 and 6? I can pull out a 3. These don't have a t in common, so I'm not going to worry about that. But when I pull 3 out of 27t, I'm left with 9t. And when I pull a 3 out of 6, I'm left with a 2. And once again, we know that our factoring by grouping works because I have the same thing here, which I will factor out, 9t plus 2. And that is multiplied by what I'm left with. Pull a 9t plus 2 out of here, I'm left with 4t. Pull a 9t plus 2 out of here, I'm left with 3. And once again, check your work. That's the answer right there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to get more awesome mathematical content. Make sure you like this video if you got something out of it, if you learned how to factor trinomials that don't have a leading coefficient of 1. And I really appreciate you watching. I really enjoy making these videos, so keep coming at me with things you want me to go over. Whatever you're having troubles with, I'm more than happy to make videos about this type of stuff or anything else math related. Again, you're only going to get good at this if you practice, and so here are 4 problems for you to work on. There are answers to these problems in the description below, so you can try these out. Make sure you know what's going on by checking your answers. Thanks again for watching. Keep on plugging away at that math. Enjoy the journey. It's a lot of fun. I'll see you next time.